Gwen, you've been sitting much too long, much too long. Welcome, 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 welcome to Truth, a radio program designed with you in mind, a program whose sole purpose is to empower you, our listeners, for information leads to knowledge, and knowledge is, you got it, power. And as always, I want to empower you to take control of your life, those things that impact you, your family, and your community. As always, too, I'd like you to go to the website at www.gwen-truth.com so you can access all of the resources, links to resources that we have there for you to empower you, to give you the knowledge you need to be able to take control. Take control. So we have links to municipalities, to county agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, and advocacy groups. Go there, too, so you can let me know what you think in regards to the question that I'm asking. I'm still asking the question as to whether or not you think that the age at which you sign up for Medicare should be increased from the age of 65 to the age of 67. That is one of the things that's being considered as a way of helping not only the budget, but in terms of issues as it relates to Medicare, and I guess a way to save money as well and to prolong the viability of the program. As has been stated, I'm Gwen Azama-Edwards, former city commissioner, retired city clerk, city of Daytona Beach, and president CEO of AE Enterprises, Inc., a consulting firm on politics and ethics. Shout out to all of you guys, you know. For those of you who watched the inauguration of the second term for our President Barack Obama, I was just enthralled. I just watched it all day and all night, and then recorded some of it and sent it out to Facebook friends and the like, because it was a great event. And it just showed not only to we who are Americans, but people across the world, what a great government we have. How we're able to, after all of the bickering and all of that crap that goes on during an election time, once it's all said and done, to be able to go ahead and swear in elected officials at the top level in terms of federal government. And even though we know, you know, the very next day it started again, but for that time period, we were able to really enjoy and understand what it means to be an American. So to all of you who watched and who, like me, felt a sense of pride in this country and what we're about as a democracy and as a country that says that we are the home of the brave, land of the free, that we don't just say that, it's not just words, that it means something. And that's important for not only we as Americans, as citizens of this country, but it is important that we as adults share that with our young people, because my guest is Shiela McKay-Vaughan, by the way, community liaison for A+ Home Aid. And I was just going to say to you, Shiela, that I can remember, I'm old enough, 64, but I can remember when we went to school and they had civics, and you know, you pledged allegiance to the United States of America, and even when I went, we even said prayers in the school, so it really dates me, but you know, we were taught what it means to be an American. We were taught what it means to have a democracy. We had to learn the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and you know, about all of those important documents that made us who we are. And to me, that is just as important today as it was then. And hopefully more of that will be taught in our schools, because our children and their children and so on and so forth need to know and understand who we are, what we are as a people and as a nation. So shout out to our newly installed President, Vice President, and to all of you who again share in the pride of that occasion. Shout out as well Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, to all of those who took part in activities for that event. I actually, besides, you know, doing what I did in terms of the inauguration, listened to recordings of speeches by Dr. Martin Luther King. I have several DVDs and CDs on that, and my husband and I listened to that. So, there are opportunities there to educate and be educated, and opportunities to learn and to grow as a people and as a nation. So let us take advantage of that, because again, in so doing, we become great role models for our children who will follow us. That wasn't a sermon, that was just a statement of fact, okay? Okay, again, as I mentioned, my guest is Shiela McKay-Vaughan, and Shiela is into a new thing now, and of course she is still, like myself, make sure that you're on, Shiela. I don't hear it.
No?
Okay, now I do. Okay. Like myself, Shiela, who is a former city commissioner, and she is a former city commissioner, Zone 3 for the city of Daytona Beach, actively involved, was before she was elected, and when she was elected even more so, and since she is out of office, she's still involved, as is true for myself. If you could, first off, Shiela, share with us what A+ Home Aid is, how it started. I found that very interesting, and what it is, and I know your community liaison, what it is that it's doing now in this area, and how long it's been in the area.
Sure, I'd be glad to, and thanks for inviting me here. Nice to be back. Our company, A+ Home Aid, is a private duty home health care agency, and what that means is that it's a company that provides caregivers and we provide help wherever support services are needed. Now that's any kind of support services. Yes, we do work a lot among the elderly, but it is not all for the elderly. There are lots of other occasions where people need help in their home, and we are happy to do it. We employ CNAs, certified nursing assistants, home health aides, and companions. So at whatever level of help you might need, we can help you out there. Actually, we're just committed. One of the biggest commitments we have is to trying to helping keep people in their homes, because a survey was done by AARP about a year or so ago. I saw it, and they said 98% of the people surveyed would rather stay in their home than have to leave their home. And a lot of times you get to the place where it's very difficult, but sometimes just a few hours, even a week, can make the difference. You get to the place, some people get to the place where it's just too difficult for them to take care of all of the needs that they have on their own. But they don't need 24/7 care. They need some kind of care, a few hours, maybe at night, maybe some during the day, whatever. And so that's what we do, and that's what we call respite care, because a lot of times the people who are caring for the person who needs the care, they get themselves very tired.
And need a break.
Yeah, and they don't know it. I mean, they don't, when you're busy and doing things, you don't kind of take cognizance of how you are. And then suddenly they start to go downhill, and then there's a big problem. So there's no reason for it. And Gwen, if you could see, I wonder somehow how I can kind of bottle up some of these stories, or try to show them, but the difference that a caregiver can make in the life of both the person in the home taking care and the client, because they have knowledge, because they went to school and they studied and they know, and their experience of working with others, they know how to make them comfortable. And we have just seen people so recovered. I mean, we had a lady that the family just couldn't seem to get her to do anything. She didn't want to get up out of bed. She didn't want to get dressed. She didn't want to eat. She didn't want to take her medicine. I mean, just, what happens is it becomes a struggle. Every day becomes a struggle. Now, I don't know how they did it, but we have caregivers in that home, and by golly, the caregiver, within a few days, she got in the shower willfully. She takes showers every day. They fix her hair. They paint her nails. They do all kinds of things. And, now even they take her out shopping. So you know, it just makes, and everybody's just so much happier. So I'll tell you, it's a very happy job. You know, it really is when you see that, you know, helping other people. But sometimes people, like I said, I just wanted to emphasize that some people think that it's just maybe just for the elderly, but we take care of, you know, anybody. We had someone call, and their wife had died, and they were left with the home and plenty of papers. You know, the wife was always the paper keeper. And so this fellow said, gosh, you know, I don't know where to start to get, he was like drowning in these papers. So we sent a lady over there that was very good with that, and she spent about, I think it was maybe 4 hours a week for about maybe 6 weeks, you know, just kept on working, and got him out from underneath, showed him how to organize and what to do. So, I mean, just an example of, you know, you might not think about that, but that's, you know, those are the kind of things that we can help out with. Now, what does it cost? That's a very good question.
That's what I was
And,
getting.
and that's right. We are private duty, and that means that it's private pay. We don't take ordinary insurance, but we do take, if you have long-term insurance, a lot of long-term insurances provide not just for care in a facility, but they will, if your insurance covers care in the home, you know, which really they should do, because in the long run that's a much cheaper, you know, less expensive, but whatever. If they do, then that can be a help. We can, there's ways that we can help people get money. If they were a veteran, you know, the government now provides money for help in the home or in a facility if you were a veteran. And so there's another reason for getting in touch with a company like ours, because we know where these sources are. I have a connection with a company that provides Medicare services. These Medicare services are free to the people. They're not free because, in the sense, we've paid for it as we've gone through life. But when you come to the place where you need it, Medicare provides it. Now, how do you go about getting those services? Well, you know, you come to me, and I have the connection. I can get that. And they provide things that our company cannot, like certain therapies and things of that that will help the person greatly. So I have a connection, for example, with an equipment company. So we're kind of a, you know, a one-stop shop. You know, you come there and we can kind of,
awesome.
yeah, you don't have to fiddle around trying to figure out what do they need. And so that's good. Now the cost starts at $15 an hour if you're paying for it, $15 an hour. So I'm telling you, whatever you can afford, we can do. We have no minimum. Well, we do have a minimum. I would say probably 3 hours, just because it's hard for me to get a caregiver, you know, to come out, pay the transportation to get to your house for less than 3 hours. You know, I mean, that's, if somebody goes out, they want to have a little bit of work. But other than that, that's it. And then, of course, we go right up to 24/7. So anything you want. Now, another important point that people should keep in mind is that we do have contracts and we do have course. You know, anything you sign up for, you have lots of papers to fill in. But there's no binding contracts. In other words, when you sign up with us, you sign up for that day and for how many days you want. And you don't know what the ending date is going to be. That's okay. But when you want more hours, you can instantly get them. If you want less hours, you can have them. If you want to terminate the contract, you can do so. So there's no, I think sometimes people worry, oh, if I sign a contract, maybe I'm obligated for 6 months down the road. No obligation. We're here to help you. That's the main thing. And when you see the pleasure that a caregiver coming into the home, even a few days, maybe not every day, maybe 2-3 days a week, can bring, it's just delightful. It's really a great thing.
And Sheila, I'm sure you've seen, as I've seen, with a lot of the women, especially women, but men have the same issue as well, where they have parents and they're elderly and, you know, they are still working perhaps, or there are other things that they're going, maybe they're taking a trip or whatever else, and their parents are still in the home and they would like to have that kind of professional care. Because I see that and I hear that a lot from people who just want to make sure that their parents get the help and assistance that they need. So this really would be perfect for them, and $15 an hour is probably for them nothing when you think about it. When you think especially about what your parents have done for you over the years, you know, how they've worked and struggled, and whenever you needed something, somehow or other they worked and they got the money to take care of it. And the thing about elderly people staying in the home, that is a major push at the state level and at the federal level as well.
Yes, yes it is.
Because not only have they found that more people want, yes, that's the key. It's less costly. And so to the extent that people can stay home longer, and that is important, that's what the government wants to see happen. And the other thing really about that in terms of people staying home is that when they stay home, their quality of life is much greater.
Well, it
really is.
It really
they're in you know, their regular and familiar surroundings.
That's right.
You know, they feel that they have some control, still have control over something.
Well, they do.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
do. If they want something from the refrigerator, they can get it. You know, right then and there. Not, you know, half an hour when somebody comes. And it's not to say that the facilities are not treating the people well, but they have many people to take care of.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And we have an aging population in our county and in this state.
Right. You know, I wanted to add something because the point you made was good about people who are working and still have, you know, parents in the home. And I just want to say that some of the things, it's not just care for the person, for the client, but that person, the caregiver, could do housekeeping. They will do, you know, clean the house up, wash the dishes, vacuum the floor, you know, do a few things so that when the working people come home, they can even start supper and get it ready so when the working people come home, that right there is a big, see, that's a big service.
It's a big load off their shoulders.
And then they can, so it isn't just care for the caregiver, it's care for the whole environment. And, you know, they can do laundry. They'll do laundry for them, so they don't have to worry about laundry ever again, you know. So
could I hire them?
Yes, you can.
Well, you know, and the great thing about this, and I will say Council on Aging provides some of this as well. But the great thing about this is that, as you're saying, anybody can use the service, and you would be using people that have already been checked out. I'm sure you guys do the background checks and all the credentialing and everything else that's important, because when you do it on your own, you never know.
That's exactly
Or if you want to send them through do a background check, it costs a lot of money, you know?
Right. Exactly. That is really key. And, you know, if it turns, this is another thing too people don't realize, if you get a caregiver, you know, sometimes we assign a caregiver, and if the person doesn't, if they don't fit, we make a change. You know, it's all about what the people want. So they don't have to worry they're going to get, you know, zapped into something they can't get out of. You know, that's not it. We're about making the convenience and student, because we don't want a caregiver in a home where it's not working, and it's not because the caregiver isn't capable. It's because you have to find the right fit. So we work at that, you know.
Personalities,
exactly.
Or people just not necessarily anything that the person does. It's just they just don't like the way they look, and we don't even talk about any of that stuff that, you know, gets into discrimination. But sometimes there's just something about a person that makes you.
It's just the way they do things or something. You know, exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that, you know, so we work in every way that we can. I would like to just, I didn't mention, you mentioned before about how the company's formed, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the owner. Because I think that our owner is a very special person. His name is John Kirchner, and he's in his late 30s now, but he, at 17, was in a car accident, and he became a quadriplegic. Now, what that means is that he is paralyzed from his neck down. So that means he really can't feed himself, he can't dress himself, he really can't get himself anywhere. He can speak, and he can read, and he can use his mind, and you know what? He did. And he, from that point on, at age 17, he needed 24/7 care. And so he started, you know, calling agencies. He had this agency, and they went from one agency to another over a period of about 7 or 8 years. And finally he began to think to himself, you know what, I've experienced a lot of this, and I really know what I think is good, and that I know is good, and that I think I can do this and provide a company that will, you know, take all these things into consideration. And so he finally, that's what he did. And so he's been in operation for about 12 years. He's been operating, his company has been operating in the Orlando and Titusville area. And now we're expanding into the Volusia and Flagler area. So anybody in Volusia County or Flagler we can service, you know, in those areas. So we've been up here about a year, and we're so a little bit new, you know, still little newbies in the area, but not new in the business. We know, you know, have a lot of experience. You know, right, exactly. So
now,
I
in
wanted to
terms
mention
of
that.
the persons who are hired to do that in this area, did they, when you when the business came to this area, did they then start hiring people?
Oh, local
to work
people?
with? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We try to hire people in all of the areas, as many of the areas as we can, because we want to have the transportation for them. We don't want somebody from DeLand having to come over here, you know. So yeah, but we provide them, and then whatever cases we get in their areas, you know, then they're eligible for that. So if anybody would like to work for us, well, that's fine. We're happy to have. We can always have caregivers. Now, our company works in the sense that they're not employees; they're their own contracted employee. But the advantage to that for the caregiver is they can take or not any cases that they want. You see, so if I call them and I say, you know, we have a case, and could you do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? And they say, no, I'm not available, or they say, I don't want that, I'd rather have 5 days, or I'd rather have only 1 day, or I'm not available this week. That's okay, there's nothing that I can do, I have to find someone else. So that's kind of nice for people who have, a lot of people might have children and, you know, different things, different reasons why maybe they don't want to work full-time. However, if you do want to work full-time and you want to work more than 40 hours a week, you're allowed to do that as well. So a lot of flexibility for the caregiver as well, you know. And the only part that they have to do is send in their own taxes. But we provide all the information, we provide all the forms, we tell them when to do it, so it's really, you know, it's not really any big deal, and it does provide, as I say, all this flexibility, you know.
Wonderful. So with that then, in terms of benefits, that would not be something that's provided to these individuals?
No.
Since they are like general contractors,
yeah, they are general
they're their own
yeah.
employer.
They are their own employer.
Pretty,
yeah, that's right,
much.
they are, yeah. That's probably a little bit of a downside, but you know, yeah, up and down.
Yeah, well, if you have someone, though, that's already working for an employer where they have the benefits, then they would not want to have another job where benefits are also, because they end up in part taking care of some of that as well financially. So in this way, you don't have to worry about if this is a second job or your third job or whatever, that you're not going to get all of the money that you earn. You actually end up getting that. Now, what percent, is there a percentage that the company takes from that? Or?
The people get a certain, it depends. Most of the time, if you're a CNA, you'll probably get paid $12 an hour. You know, that's pretty good.
That is,
you know,
especially for this area.
Yeah.
You got it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, we're going to get a new service going now to do with transporting. So we'll have a flat fee. It'll be $50 for 3 hours and 10 miles. I think is included. Anything extra, you know, you have to pay extra. But that's particularly good for like people who might be having cataract surgery. They're not allowed to drive, and if they don't have any family here or somebody that can do it, so then we send the caregiver in there, and then they take them over there, drop them off, come back. They're there when they wake up and ready to go home, and they will make sure they're comfortable in the home. They take them right into the home, as you know, they don't just drop them at a door like a taxi cab would, you know, and we'll probably fix them a little cup of soup or something, you know, get them comfortable, make sure they're good, and you know, so that's a service that we're going to provide as well.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
How can, what is the website, or how can they contact you or the company if they're interested, either in the service or even possibly working?
Yeah, I'll give you my cell number. That's the best way to do it. You know, it's 299-5838. The same number I had when I was a commissioner. 299-5838.
And that's 386 for those that are outside of the area.
Yeah, right. 386-299-5838. Yeah, you just call me and I can help you if you want to be in a working force, or if you are interested in the service. Now, if you call and you just want information, that's fine. I'll be happy to come out and call on you. There's no obligation because I come to your house and talk to you. And if you don't think it's going to be something that suits you, that's fine. Or if you just want the information for some time in the future, that's okay too. No obligations here. We're not into the point of trying to trap people into anything. You know, just providing the service. But sometimes when you talk face to face, that's what I like to do the best, because I think rather than over the phone, just because I think you connect better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure you do not just one-on-one, but if they had a group that they wanted you to come and talk to as well.
Oh, I'd be delighted to do that. Yeah, anybody that has. Yeah, I have done that, of course. And sure, like a lot of church groups and different organizations, some of the places over 55, for example, home established places, they like that kind of thing. And, you know, I can bring programs there. And, yeah, so... sure, that's another service that we provide. Yeah, I will provide that.
Yeah, well, I can say having friends who have elderly parents who are in need, that this would be a great resource for you to check into. So do give Shiela, former Commissioner Shiela McKay-Vaughan, a call. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, because as I started off saying, once you're a commissioner, you're no longer a commissioner, you know, especially if you became a commissioner or a part of an elective position the right way. You did it because you wanted to help the people. You wanted to improve things. And so, you know, those ideas and those feelings happen when, before you go into office and when you're in office and even after you leave office. So I'm sure there's still some interest in things that you're a part of. And I know that one of the things that you had been dealing with and talking about had to do with the homeless.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is just an issue that we really need to have a lot more conversation about. I don't know if people are familiar with faith, fighting against injustice toward harmony, with harmony, and that group that's one of their issues, and they're working on it, and that's good. But you know, we have to provide a place for these people to go. Now, there are several ways. There is the Homeless Coalition that's working on dealing with the homeless, and they do some very good work. There's a couple of different approaches. One of them is to take somebody, you take individuals and you get them placed in homes. Well, that's a great thing, but sometimes people that are on the streets right now, they're not interested in that. That's just not their bag, and I know some of us who have homes, and I've never been homeless, might think, wow, that's odd, but you know, that's their style. And some of the people that get into those situations, then they're not skilled at how to take care of the property they get. Another problem with that sort of thing is that they're placed out into the community in different places. Now they need services. So when you place them in individual homes in different areas, that requires them to make a trip to the service. Most of the services are in Daytona Beach, that's okay, but that requires transportation. Transportation is something that very few of these homeless people have. I worked very hard to get some bicycles for some of these people. We've got quite a few homeless people supplied with bicycles. And that was with the help of Chief Chitwood. He really helped us out a lot with that, and I'm very grateful for that. But nevertheless, that's still not, it doesn't make it convenient for these people to do that. Now there's another theory, and some people are working on that, and I think that's one of the things Faith is very interested in, and that is that we provide a place for them to come together and live, and then bring the rehab services to them. Now that's, you know, a lot of people think, oh, you know, congregating them. They congregate now, folks.
Right.
One of the places that they're congregated, and I think people are going to be surprised when they realize, but the property that's across from the hospital behind the Kmart and ISB is about to be redeveloped, and so they're going to be cutting those woods down at some point. And that is going to be a great thing for the city. I mean, that's a wonderful piece of land that will probably bring us taxes, and it'll be a great thing. But it will cause the relocation of there's a lot of homeless people who live in those woods. Now, think about it. If you're on the street, you know, who are your friends going to be? Other homeless people. And why do you congregate to be in one place? Because it's safety. That's how they keep themselves safe. Yes, they do. And, you know, people aren't necessarily, if there's 10 or 15 people and a couple of people who might want to come in and cause trouble for somebody, which there are people who would, but when there's 15, they're not going to be so likely. If there's one person, yeah, they can, you know, do some things. So that's it. So I see this as a natural thing. I know that in the homeless community, they have friends. They are friends. They see each other all the time. They meet. That's one of the reasons that some of them meet at the library. We sometimes get annoyed, you know, and say, oh, why are they always hanging around there? Well, it's warm or it's cool, depending on, you know. But it's a place for them to not only read and do something with, with the time they have, but to connect with their friends. And so I'm a great advocate of this, where we could get a piece of land. Now the problem is, where do we get this piece of land? And I understand that. I think the city and the county need to get their heads together, and they need to find a place. We have found a place. The county has some land. You just have to get some people's minds turned around. But if they could be there, we're not asking for anything but the land at this point. We have an organization that can provide some money. We have some people who have pledged money for this. We will use the homeless to help build places where they can stay. Now, once they're there, we can bring the resources that they need to get their lives rehabilitated, but plus, we can start small cottage industries on a land like that. Just one example that comes to us is there's a great need for a home for feral cats, because there are groups that are out there trying to get them off the streets, but they want to care for them. They don't want them to be, put to sleep. And so they need these places. Well, what if we had a place there, a home where some of these cats could come? Then what would be the advantage? Then the people who are homeless, some of them might want to learn how to care for the cats, how to be a groomer of the cats, how to, whatever you can do with cats. I mean, I'm not sure, but, house sit cats. I mean, but there are industries that can be spawned like that. And so to me, it's just that's what I'm working for right now, to try to do that. Not an exclusion of other things. It doesn't. Nothing has to be an exclusion.
Right.
We can do other ways for the people that it works, but there would be a large number of people. And when we keep just relocating, or opening up areas where these people have been living, where do they go? They just walk out on the streets now, and then they have to find another place. So I really pray every day that the city and the county can come together and we can have some real meaningful talk about that issue. Not an exclusion of anything else, not to disrupt anybody else's program, but to add to the group of options for people who are homeless.
Right.
That's all so I'm really hoping. So I kind of got excited when I heard that they were going to redevelop that, because I thought, well, maybe this will be the impetus. What is it going to be that pushes the city and the county to the point of saying, yes, we do have to do something like this?
We've been talking about it for years.
Exactly.
Big John started talking about it buku
years ago. I know.
And,
when are we going to find it? I mean, I just, it could be done, and it could be done, especially with the county. This is what we've proposed. We do it not permanently, in the sense that give us 10 years. If at the end of 10 years this thing isn't working and it's a bust, well, we give the land. The land goes back to the county, and no one, what loss has it been to the county?
And the homeless plan that the chamber had, wasn't that a 10-year?
That was a 10-year plan. Yeah, well, 10 years, I think.
It was written up and nothing ever happened.
Yeah, right, yeah. It came and it went. But I think that's, some people are being helped here and there, but it's the people that are on the street right now. And this is an interesting thing about the homeless, that a lot of people, I didn't realize this until I started working closely with this group. They say we have, I've forgotten the exact number, 500 or some kind of agencies in the county, and half of those or more are here in Daytona Beach. So we have a myriad of organizations that supposedly help people who are homeless. Now, most of these groups, there are two that I know that are exceptions. One is HUM, Halifax Urban Ministries. The other one is the Salvation Army, that will help you because you are homeless. But most of them help you because you have a mental problem, because you've been a felon, because you, whatever, you're just right out of jail, you have some physical disability that you need. So they're going to help you with those things. And then if you happen to be homeless while they're helping you, well, yes, they'll help you on that. But if you go to these agencies and you ask for help, and they say, what is your problem? And you say, well, my problem is I'm on the streets. I'm not disabled. I, don't have this. I don't have much money. But I am just an ordinary person. They say, sorry, we can't help you. So there's only two that I know out of all these hundreds that help the people who are currently on the street. Well, there you go. I mean, we need a little more help than that, you know. And they only have, the Salvation Army has like 10 or 12 beds, and Hum doesn't have any beds really, but they do provide help for them on the cold weather and things like that. And they try to feed, they of course are responsible for feeding them, which is a great thing. But we need beds. We need beds where they can put their heads, get their heads screwed. If they want to stay there and in that community, well, so be it. But a lot of times, they just having a place to rest. You know, rest is a major issue. Anybody, think about it, folks. When you don't get sleep, you get rattled. You know, you can't do your best work. You can't think. When you are on the streets, and you're trying to survive, and you're worried about, you know, somebody could hurt you, or where are you going to get your next meal, or, you know, what's going to happen to you, how cold is it going to be tonight, am I going to find a place that, you know, when it rains, where am I going to go, all of those sort of things. You can't really think long-term goals. You're kind of, you know, that's about survival. When you're on the survival mode, you need, so that's why I say a place where they could just rest and get out of the survival mode, a lot of people could move on. So hopefully, you know, I don't know, we're going to try again with a new county commission and a new city commission. Come on, folks.
And I'm hopeful, and I know you don't want to use Michael Ott's name, but he is the one who did come up with a plan for land that's located, of course, in between, it's county land located in between DeLand and Daytona Beach. And the land is there, the land is available, and could, you know, easily be made available to have this kind of a village concept where the individuals not only receive social services right there on the spot, but they have an opportunity to build their own places and do that, to learn skills so that they can become viable members of society. And I think that is what it should be about. And that place would start working basically with men, because we do have, you know, the place with the Homeless Coalition where they do have a place for women.
And they do have families, for families. They have some more. That's true. So, you know, single men are the biggest need right now, I would say. I mean, of course, everybody, I mean, please, I don't minimize the need of anyone, but yeah, or let's put it this way, the least provision is made for these people. And that's the problem. And
I heard the figure, and I mentioned it on my show last week, that about 40%, I'm told, are veterans.
Yes, a lot of other veterans. And, you know, the government's, you know, they're stepping up to try to help them. And that's another group, that's fine, that's second. We're still left with the 60% that are not veterans.
When you think about the fact that more and more employers are actually stepping up and hiring veterans, think of how great this place would be to help those individuals get started before they ended up in employment and ended up only being there a day or a week or whatever because of an adjustment problem. So there are needs there that can be met in that regard. Now, you were talking too about trees and the need to do some things with the trees. And I remember going to the City of Daytona Beach Tree and the Beautification Advisory Board, and I know that they were talking about, you know, you and I were on the commission. You remember that they were supposed to come up with this grand plan in terms of a beautification plan for the city, which would include trees and the like. And I believe in the last few years they actually started with, under Chris Don, they started actually counting, because they were going to count the number of trees and see if we were short, you know, in terms of what we should have, you know, as a viable community or whatever. I don't know how far they've gotten in terms of that, because I don't know that there was that much support for it, but that's something that needs to happen. Trees are important to any community. Trees are what keeps the oxygen going. When we all need oxygen, you know. They also provide, you know, the canopies that allow for shading and all of that. They provide as well for just a change, a positive change in the entire environment that a person and family would find themselves in. And then we had it was a problem with trees dying. There were certain trees that were dying in the city.
Right. I mean, this is a perfect time, you know, for the city commission. I would really, you know, beg the city commission to step up and be a leader in this respect. But we have the bay trees that are being attacked everywhere. I know in Midtown they're dying, and on the beach side. I mean, peninsula has, South Peninsula, particularly I'm familiar with, has been, I mean, tree after tree after tree has come down. Beautiful, big, gorgeous trees. Now, this happens every once in a while. I mean, it happened in Connecticut with the elm trees. It happened in Pittsburgh with the sycamore trees. I mean, it's not, that unusual. We can't control a lot about how that happens, but the bay trees, we have a very large number of bay trees in the city. If we keep letting them just be cut down and we don't replace them with something, we will suddenly be in big trouble. And it takes a while for trees to grow. I mean, you don't plant a tree that gives you shade. You have to have a few years growth.
Right, absolutely.
So we need to get started right now. So to me, this is kind of like, again, a signal saying, hey guys, come on, now we have to do something. I know in a city that I lived in before I came here, the city had their own nursery and tree nursery, and they grew trees all the time, and so they could constantly, anything in the right of way, they replaced for you. But even if they didn't replace them for free, if we could, have it available for people and advice for them. Now I know, Gwen, you mentioned that maybe it could be some kind of job that work could do.
Yeah, because WRC, they have another name now, but
right, yeah. But at any rate, it doesn't matter to me.
And then the county, I don't know if they call it the ag department or whatever. At the on the fairgrounds, they give away trees once a year. So it's a project that someone could undertake, and as I said to you, and you agreed, there's got to be some kind of grant money out there for that as well, because trees are important and they're recognized as being important for the environment, and we have this big environmental push that we're going to be doing. So it's something that we can do and that we should do. And Daytona Beach, like some other areas, is a tree city.
Yeah, we have Tree City USA designation, so we want to maintain that. But see, this is where, my expectation of the commission, we don't have the answers, Gwen. I mean, we have suggestions, and that's great. We are not here to just give out answers and think that that's the way it has to go. But what I think is that the commission needs to step up to leadership. They got to start talking about this, and they got to find a way. It doesn't have to be the way we've suggested. They can take those, but they may find a better way. But leadership is what we are lacking so often on the part of the commission. Come on, step up, folks, and find a way to get us some trees, one way or another, or get the information out, if nothing else. Tell us how we get in touch with the county, and how do we get in touch with whatever. And believe me, I know there are plans, and there are grants, and I know that there have been plans brought to the city that said, for very small money or for no money at all, we can get these, and there's always been an excuse. So I call the commission at this point, stop looking and listening to excuses and do something before we are denuded. That is not going to, we talk about beautification, the previous mayor, he spent a whole lot of money making all these beautiful streets, paving them, and that was a wonderful thing. And he said, if the streets look better, that's going to encourage people. Well, one of the things that makes streets look better are nice trees.
Right. So
we can pave all we want, but if we let the trees go, I mean, it has to go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And I think this is the time, perfect time to get
the city working with the county to make it happen.
Yeah,
Let me
work
just
together, sure. Yeah.
Say you're listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. My guest, of course, is Shiela McKay-Vaughan, former city commissioner, and she is a community liaison with A+ Home Aid. This is WLE 1380 AM on your radio dial in Ormond Beach, Florida. Also, it's BigJohn1380.com and Goliath Radio. But this is also WLE, the letters 1380 AM on your radio dial, Ormond Beach, Florida. Now, what are you hearing about the transportation issue as it relates to the rail service? And I know, sometimes with a lot of these things, you almost have to be in the loop to get the information and to know what's going on. It was great, and I would just commend whoever pulled that I didn't go to it, but I read about it and everything. But pulled together the transportation workshop that the commission had recently, where they were informed of all of the different coalitions and groups and committees, etc., that are working on various levels of transportation, like the group that's working on International Speedway Boulevard, and
and Orange Avenue is coming up now. That's going to be
Oh, yeah.
That's going
gonna be
forward, 2
something.
years, they
Yeah.
say that should be completed.
I just find for Orange Avenue, I just find it amazing that Daytona Beach kicks in the most money when it's a county road.
Well, this happens.
Anyway, and we end up actually, we're borrowing the money, we end up paying for it for the most part, and it's a county road, so
we are getting some FDOT grants on that one too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are, so.
Yeah, well, the most
it needs to
millions
be
are
done.
coming from the city, but it does need to be done, absolutely.
Yeah.
But transportation-wise, do you think people are more, because I know there were residents who were, and people in the county really who were just definitely opposed to
Yeah.
any involvement in terms of the rail system, and I'm sure our new county chair heard from those people because a lot of them supported him.
Yeah.
But it seems like it is going forward. But I have to agree with one of the commissioners that this is something that is going to be years from now. But I think what people need to understand is, and you and I know that there are things that you plan and you work on, and there's years before it ever comes to fruition. And so you end up like Gary Libby was talking about the fact that the mayor, put a lot of things that are in place now that the new mayor, whomever, trying get credit for. But that's the way it's always worked.
Yeah.
Because it takes at least a couple of years to get something done.
Yeah.
You and I and others worked on the new fire station out there, and we didn't get any credit for that. We don't have our name on the building. The people who were in office at the time that did squat about it, they're the ones that have the name on the building, period. But that's the way it works, and it has been working not only with our city, but other cities, and then, the county as well. But transportation-wise, what do you think? What are you hearing?
Well, it is one of the controversial issues. I mean, gosh, if you want to get a little heated discussion, all you have to do is bring that up in a little group. But I think, there's a couple of points that I think are very important. I want to tell you right off, I'm for the rail.
So am I.
Yeah, I mean, we need to have it. It is, and one of the main reasons that sometimes a lot of people, what I hear a lot is, oh, nobody's going to ride on them. You know what? There's another issue, and it's about freight. Mm-hmm. And we need to build businesses here and to attract businesses in Florida. We have to have a way for them to be close to a rail line, because it can move, it can bring them supplies, and it can move their product out. Right. And that is, I've heard that over and over, so I don't think that's, I think that's very real. And so that would be, and if we can have more of the freight on the rails, then there's going to be less of the trucks on the road, which is what destroys the roads, number one, mostly, and what is so hazardous. I mean, if you have to drive on any of these major highways, and you just have more and more trucks all the time. So anything we can do to relinquish that, to reduce that, would be great in my opinion. Now, the other piece that you hear all the time is, it'll never pay for itself. Yes, folks, you're absolutely right. I'm not going to try to convince you that it will pay.
It never does.
No.
Bus service, they talk about Botran. It will never pay for itself.
But here's the thing. Roads don't pay for themselves either. We forget how much money, I mean, this is what I've said, we ought to do, somebody should do a comparison study on a road and compared to the rail, and I think you'll be quite surprised. I think, I'm not sure, but I think we're somewhere close to $1 million a mile to build a road. Just to build the road, folks. A mile is not a long way for a road, when you're putting in a highway. And
I think that's a single lane, too.
That could be, And so, and then with the roads, we have, yes, you have some upkeep with the rails, but with the roads, it's constant upkeep all of the time. And this is true, because no matter where you drive, you can't hardly drive anywhere that you don't see some kind of construction or repair or somebody by the side of the road. Those people are not free. They don't get paid by somebody from the moon. They get paid by you and I out of our tax money, just like we would have to pay a little bit to the rails. But they've publicized all this money that we have to pay for the rails, and I think I just want to remind you, you are paying for the roads as well. They're not free, because we don't see that number all the time. We think oh, well, it's just done, you know,
Right.
it's just done. And it
Just
isn't.
like the newly
Yeah.
paved roads in Daytona Beach that have occurred in the last 12 months, and you know we'll be paying for that for years.
$8 million that was the cost for that. $8 million to have those repaved, and $4 million of that came out of the Midtown redevelopment board, you know. So, and they had to borrow some of that money, and they are going to be paying that. You're right. So when we end up paying for this, it's going to be more. I think we did get a low interest rate, as I remember. So I think that was good. But I mean, probably $10 million, you know, by the time it gets paid back. And so there you are, folks, and all we did, I mean, it was a great thing we did, but I'm just saying it was a resurfacing for the most part, of our local roads. Wasn't any major highway, no, I mean, Orange Avenue wasn't a part of that, you know, that, oh my goodness, no, that's many more million than that. And so folks, try to make that balance. I just like to tell people, make the balance. Don't think roads are free, you know, because they're not. And we're paying for those every day. So if we can relieve some traffic and some freight, particularly freight, off of the roads, wow, I'd be delighted. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing.
What are some things that you feel are the new city commission, besides the ones that we've discussed, that they should be looking at and thinking about, that you've heard and you're familiar with being important to the people and the city, the betterment of the city?
Well, let me mention just a couple of things that I was happy about. I'm very happy about the Orange Avenue coming together, and it's, you know, that's nobody's fault. I mean, that it took so long, believe me, because we wanted the state to be involved, we wanted the county to be involved, we want the city. So it just takes a long time for those things to come together. But we are going to have that, and so I think we should all be, and that is not just a repaving, that is a whole complete, you know, redo of the street, and that will be burying some of the lines. I think burying lines in other places in the city is another thing that the city should be talking about. Now, South Daytona has done it, and Daytona Beach Shores has done it, and I think Holly Hill's now talking about it, so all around us they're doing it. And we don't have to do, I mean, people say, oh, that's too terribly expensive. Yes, it is. But you know what? It's plans that we need for these things. Let's plan to do, what, 10 miles a year? I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't say we have to do everything in 1 year. It doesn't matter how many miles a year, but we have a plan that we're going to put into effect. And in the end, again, I believe this is a savings, because yes, it costs money to do that, but much less repair. Now, every time that we have a storm and we have to send out our workers, our city workers, or the FPL, or wherever, a lot of that is overtime. They're not doing that on their regular hours in many cases, so it's extra money all the time. And if we can reduce that, then again, yes, you won't see it directly taken out of your property tax, you won't see your property tax come down because of it, but other taxes that pay for it will be reduced. And so
and you know,
you have to think of the big picture on some of this.
And when they do new development, just as they did on A1A, when they were doing the widening of the streets and the like, remember they took a lot of those, put them underground. I'm looking at Mason Avenue, the new Dollar General that's going. And as you approach that, what do you see? The overhead, you know, cables and all, and that would have been a perfect opportunity to have, at least in that's close by them, have put some of that underground.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I'm excited that Orange Avenue, that's a start, you know, and when you see, I mean, if you don't even think about the difference, but the beauty, again, going back to beauty, we talked, you know, 2-3 years ago, it seemed to be, you know, the very big issue, beauty in the city. Well, it is a big issue. And that's why we paved the roads, and that's why we're advocating more trees. And now this is, you know, another addition to that. I mean, everything that we do, if you don't believe me, go drive down, go in South Daytona, see how beautiful it looks now.
It's gorgeous.
I mean, and Daytona Beach Shores, I mean, you immediately, it's such a relief and such a wonderful thing. And of course we know we can't do it overnight, but a piece at a time, you just work at these things. But what I want to call the commission to is, let's get a plan. Let's talk about it now. Let's not just brush it aside and say, oh, it's too expensive. Let's start working on this, because all of these things, as you say so aptly, Gwen, government doesn't work fast. We all know that. but it doesn't work at all if we don't have a plan.
Right, and it's important to do what you can do, even if you have to do just a little at a time. But you know, the other thing about the beautification is that once you put something down, maintain it.
Yeah.
I was driving down US 1, and you know, they have this nice planting in the middle of the street. Going, oh, weeds are everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah.
And I am sure, because I've talked to people, I'm sure you talk to people, who would love to volunteer their time, help the city, and help to maybe keep some of that stuff up.
Well, the gardens, you know, the garden clubs used to do a lot of that. They really did, because I remember the lady who was in charge of it at the time, and I've talked to her as a commissioner, you know, and they did a lot of work on City Island, you know, and I don't know what's happened there. I know people, it's harder now to get volunteer help. We know that. But I think, again, yes, this is something, well, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do. What can we do for the garden clubs if they can do a little for us, you know?
Right.
And that's the way, you're absolutely right. You know, it takes, they say, what, it takes a village to raise a child? Well, it takes a village to keep a city going.
Absolutely,
I mean, you know,
absolutely, and especially during these times.
Yes, right.
Now, you say you had a couple of,
well, I wanted to just point out about the museum expansion. I think that is going to be, that's going to be wonderful. I mean, you know, I have seen some of the pictures that they will put in there, you know, the Hyatt Brown, you know, thing.
Yeah,
and
this is the Museum of Arts and Sciences.
Sciences, yeah, MOAS up on Nova. And that's 31 acres that's going to be, you know, brought into, you know, expanded into this. This museum is a wonderful little piece, and it's kind of behind the trees and hidden back there, and people don't know about it, but if you have not...
It's considered one of the best in the nation.
Really, it is a gem, and we are very lucky to have it. So, you know, some people say, oh, you know, whatever, you know, maybe this is just somebody trying to get publicity. Look, folks, this collection that Hyatt Brown has and C.C. Brown have, there is no other collection like it. And the reason they have collected, what it is Florida, a lot watercolor, but Florida art that portrays scenes from Florida. And they certainly, you know, they started looking around, and years ago they started this and said, gosh, you know, they wanted some, I guess, for themselves, and then they started realizing, you know. So wherever they've traveled, they've gone all over the United States, but a lot in Florida, and they've collected hundreds of pieces. This is a gem. This is something that isn't anywhere else. And so I think this will be, and especially with this new edition now, hopefully this will be a good draw. We want tourists. This is a great thing for tourists. But it won't just be the art that will be expanded. They're going to have a children's section that's going to be, and that outdoor, if you haven't walked that outdoor, those outdoor paths they have out there, oh my, you need to go out there. It's just lovely. You know, it just gives you a sense of, you know, old Florida, what it must have been like. But it's safe because you're on these nice little platforms. You don't have to worry about anything.
A little of that, not the whole thing.
Yeah, crawling all over you. But it's great for children. It's just, you know, for families to go out there. So that, I commend the city for cooperating on that. I look great forward to it. I want to thank publicly Hyatt and C.C. Brown for what they've, you know, that they've decided. I mean, they could have put that collection anywhere. They didn't have to.
Down in Ormond Beach.
Well, they could have put it anywhere. I mean, right. I mean, it doesn't matter, and they chose to put it in our city. So I'm grateful. I think that's a really a good thing. Something that let's see.
You had mentioned, I know, the new thing for reading water meters.
Oh,
that
yeah,
we're
well, yeah.
Getting.
You know, I mean, I'll tell you, Gwen, I voted against it to begin with. I'm still a little bit, it's passed, and I know it's going to happen, but from what I can figure, it's the $7 million plus, you know, dollars. And what was interesting when I started doing some research on it, and I mean, if somebody wants to correct me on it, I'd be happy to be corrected, but it said they did a survey of the current water meters, and they said we had 88% accuracy. Folks, that means 12% weren't accurate. I don't know if a $7 million or more expenditure will be worth fixing. I mean, we couldn't have fixed the 12% without. I'm sure there's some great advantages. You do get immediate readings and things like that. But when we have so many needs every place else, I don't know. And it's going to put about 40, 35 people out of work.
Yeah,
you know, again,
people
out of
really
work. You know, once
at.
again. But that does not. I mean, I really would like to hear Mitt Tidwell tell us about the savings, because at the time that I voted against it, that's what convinced me to vote against it. Because he had this elaborate thing about how much money we were going to save, and when I started putting dollars to it, it didn't come. I figured it was going to be 100 years before we would ever even see anything close to any profit or any savings, and by that time we'll have had to buy more meters, and it was just there's no savings here. I cannot. I would, if somebody can show me where the savings is. It's not that. It's for convenience for the city. I hope it works for them. I'm just disturbed. And here was another thing I thought. In order to, this is all going to work by rays in the air, because it's like the wireless kind of thing, And so they need 3 towers, and so they're going to be paying close to $15,000 each year for rent on these towers. Now that's never going to go away. That's another fee that's just always going to be there. Right. So, I mean, I guess compared to $7 million, you can say 15 isn't a lot, but it's just another little piece. You understand now we're going to have not only the towers, but they'll have to be replaced, they'll have to be repaired. So it goes on and on. I'm very concerned, but it's been passed. I hope that it works. I don't know. I don't see how the commission. I don't understand what their thinking is on it. So.
Well, if they needed the towers, hopefully what they can do is get an agreement with one of these cell phone companies or whatever else who also needs them. Yeah. And then we can piggyback on each other. I remember years ago that was something that Rich Quigley was working on, and we never really got too far on it. But
well, they're going to put one of them is going to be Daytona State College. Another one is going to be at the Speedway, and the third one is going to be on the beach side on Windsor Towers, I think.
And at least 2 out of the 3 have I know a Bright House hub.
Yeah,
themselves as well. So
you do wonder sometimes about that, yeah.
Because there are people who have towers who give permission for towers to go on their property, and they make buku money. Right. So that makes sense that we would be paying for it when we could probably get it and offer it for, piggyback and without spending all of those funds.
I'm sure our water bill is going to go up. That's the bottom line, and that's worrisome to me. I don't see how it can be any other way. We will be paying much more for water, and that's going to be hurtful to a lot of people, because water is something we all need. Regardless of our income, we need water.
And so, you were on the commission, I believe, when we were told when we did that 5-year adjustment going up on the rates, and after 5 years that was supposed to be it. And as we've surpassed that time, I know. And nothing's gone away.
If you remember, in that last year was near to the end of my term. I asked specifically about that. What's going on? What's going on? Well, never could get an answer. Not really a good answer. Yeah, well, I said, the time has gone, and it's been renewed. And I was like, well, I don't know who, because I didn't renew it.
Yeah, I don't
whatever.
know.
And again, like you say, this is the way it goes. I mean, we have to be. That's one of the reasons we have to be so very careful and circumspect when we do say things. We say we're only going to do this for a year or 2 years, but you get comfortable with it. You have that income coming in, and and it's working for you. So to stop it then means a big readjustment. So.
Which is why a lot of voters won't approve something, because they say there's a set sunset time for it, because rarely do we ever see that in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay, as we prepare to go off the air, if there's something else you'd like to add, and please remind the people as to how you can be contacted for the A+ home aid.
Yes, I will. The contact number is 386, of course, 299. 5838 299-5838. That's Shiela McKay, and please give me a call. Our office, by the way, is on right off of Beach Street. It's right in the marina, in the Daytona Beach Marina, on the 2nd floor. Where the blue. Everybody seems to know where the Blue Grotto is. We're right above the Blue Grotto there, and it's a very lovely spot. So come by, say hi. Whatever, give me a call if there's any way that I can help you in any way. I'm only too happy to do it. I had great joy doing that when I was a commissioner. I think that was the joy. I mean, passing all the laws and reading all the myriad of materials was, yes, interesting, but that wasn't what really kept me going. I just love it when I can, bring some pleasure and get something done for people with just a little bit extra effort. I think that's a wonderful thing, and And I find myself being happy with this too, because it is a little bit, folks, when you think about it, oh, a lot of people say, do I really want a stranger in your house? Well, a stranger is only a stranger until you get to know them. And then they become family members, and really, there's usually very good bonds between us, and you become very happy with them. So, don't be afraid to step out and take advantage of these things. Another thing that I know a lot of people worry about is there must be something wrong with me because I now can't take care of all the things that I could take care of. I was able, I could take, you know what, it's okay, it's okay. It could be a lot of reasons, but here, the situation that you now cannot take care of in some cases is an added thing. It's not part of normal life. It's sickness, it's illness, it's difficulties, in some ways. So that adds to the burden. So it's not a shame to say, I have always said all my life, it's no shame to ask for help. As a matter of fact, it shows me the smart people. Because when you can get it and you need it, and when you see the quality of life that it can bring, it's a wonderful, smart avenue to take.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you, Shiela McKay-Vaughan. We do appreciate you coming on, and we want to remind everyone to listen in every Thursday starting at 6:15 to as we discuss issues that will not only inform you but empower you, our listeners. Be sure to go to the website, www.gwen-truth.com. Until next time, be informed, be empowered, and stand tall for that which is right and truthful. And I and Shiela McKay-Vaughan, and I'm sure all of you, we're still standing. You be blessed and have a great week. And thank you for listening.
With your host, Azama-Edwards.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.